This is the chart of cocoa prices over the last decade. For years, it is a flat line, stable, predictable, almost boring. Then comes 2024. In a matter of months, the flat line violently spikes, tearing past $10,000 a ton. Yet, fast forward to today, the market looks completely different. Prices have crashed by 50% from those historic peaks, and warehouses in West Africa are overflowing with inventory. In less than 24 months, the global economy violently swung from a paralyzing shortage to a massive surplus. So, if the commodity has crashed, why hasn't the cost of your chocolate bar dropped by a single cent? The cocoa shortage didn't happen by accident. It started with a weather event called El Niño, which happens every 2 to 7 years when the Pacific Ocean gets warmer than usual. This strong cycle hit West Africa hard, bringing drier weather, scorching heat, and unpredictable rain. Behind El Niño, climate change is a much bigger problem behind the scene. According to NASA, 2024 was the hottest year ever recorded. For cocoa farmers, this means the weather is becoming more extreme and unpredictable every single season. This heat is a massive problem for our food. A recent study suggests that for every 1 degree Celsius the planet warms, global food production drops by 120 calories per person every day. Because the weather was so erratic, it triggered outbreaks of black pod disease and swollen shoot virus. In Ghana, the world's second largest cocoa producer, production dropped by nearly 50%. But the threat to the supply chain wasn't solely atmospheric. It also came from underground. In Ghana, a surge in illegal gold mining began encroaching on agricultural land. Lured by immediate cash, some farmers surrendered their plantations to miners. This practice doesn't just fell cocoa trees, it fundamentally poisons the earth. The crude extraction process utilizes heavy metals like mercury, lead, and arsenic, which leach deeply into the soil and water tables, permanently sterilizing lands that once fueled the global chocolate machine. While farmers were struggling on the ground, a different kind of chaos was happening on Wall Street. Chocolate manufacturers utilized futures contracts, an agreement to buy cocoa at a set price months in advance, to hedge against risk. Hedge funds, however, used them to speculate. When institutional investors saw the physical shortage materializing, they didn't simply observe. They aggressively brought into the market, betting on scarcity, driving futures toward a record-breaking $12,000 per ton. This created a nightmare called margin calls. In the margin system, you don't pay for the whole shipment upfront. You only put down a small good faith deposit, often as small as 5% to hold a massive bet. But there's the catch. The exchange balances your account every single day. If you bet prices will stay low, but they spike by $1,000 in an afternoon, your deposit is instantly wiped out. Your broker would then issue a margin call, a legal demand to pay a huge amount of cash immediately to cover the loss and keep your bet open. By early 2024, prices were moving so fast that many traders simply ran out of cash. They were forced to liquidate their position, essentially buying their bets at any price just to stop the bleeding. This wave of forced buying created a feedback loop that actually broke the market, sending the Great Chocolate Crisis into the stratosphere. In the midst of this financial frenzy, the European Union, the world's largest consumer of chocolate, activated the European Union Deforestation Regulation. The law mandates that any cocoa entering the EU must prove it did not originate from deforested land. While ecologically necessary, its timing was a logistical disaster. Millions of small-scale farmers lacked the technology or infrastructure to comply. The result was a severe regulatory squeeze. Even if physical bins exist, without a digital passport, they were legally blocked from the European ports, effectively locking a huge portion of the world's supply out of the market and driving prices even higher. After scaling the terrifying heights of $12,000, the market didn't stabilize, it collapsed. By 2026, cocoa prices had plummeted 50%. The extreme El Niño condition that strangled West Africa in 2024 eventually faded. Farmers, desperate to take advantage of those record high prices, did everything in their power to revive their crops. The result was a dramatic shift. Warehouses in West Africa that were bone dry just 2 years ago are now overflowing with beans. Moreover, the Wall Street speculation bubble popped. Once hedge funds saw the surplus coming, they realized the party was over. They rushed to sell their future contract all at once to lock in whatever profits remained, causing it to plummet even faster than it originally rose. But there is a human side to this crash that Wall Street often ignores. You see, the governments of Ivory Coast and Ghana, who produce about 60% of the world's cocoa, long ago realized that their farmers were being left behind. To fight this, they created the living income differential, a $400 per ton premium added to the market price, intended as a safety net to ensure farmers could actually afford to eat. When the market was at $12,000, the LID was an easy win. But as the price plummeted towards $6,000 in 2026, a massive political flashpoint ignited. The gap between what the global market wants to pay and what the farmers need to survive became a chasm. While warehouses are currently overflowing with beans, farmers are facing a cost of living crisis of their own. Today, farmers are caught in an economic trap. They are producing more cocoa than ever, yet watching the value of their labor evaporate. So here's the question. If the warehouses are full and the market has crashed, why hasn't your chocolate bar gotten any cheaper? Major chocolate manufacturers like Mars and Hershey don't buy cocoa on the spot market like buying groceries. They use futures contracts to lock in their supply 6 to 12 months in advance. This means that even though the market price has plummeted today, factories are currently processing beans that were purchased back when prices were still near their $12,000 peak. To navigate this volatility, manufacturers have fundamentally changed how they make and sell their products. Many are now reducing cocoa percentage in certain formulations and exploring alternative fats or extenders to replace expensive cocoa butter. To protect their bottom line, manufacturers are streamlining their inventory by cutting low-profit variety and focusing on a few premium SKUs, which allows them to charge more per item and maintain higher profit margins. They are also moving further out on the futures curve, meaning they are locking in cocoa prices for harvest 2 or 3 years in advance to act as an insurance policy against future weather shocks. By combining these focused product lines with long-term price contracts, companies can stabilize their internal costs and protect their profits even if the global market remains volatile. Furthermore, companies invested heavily in shrinkflation and these recipe reformulations to survive the 2024 squeeze. Essentially, retail prices are sticky. They go up like a rocket when costs rise, but drift down like a feather when costs fall. For the big chocolate brands, the 2024 crisis provides a perfect excuse to reset the new normal for what a chocolate bar should cost. From a record-breaking heatwave to a 50% harvest crash in Ghana, the journey of your chocolate bar is more complicated than ever. Cocoa prices might have crashed on the stock market, but the era of cheap chocolate is likely over for good. So, next time you unwrap a piece of chocolate, remember, you are not just paying for sugar and bean. You are paying for the story of a global market that broke and never went back again. Thank you for watching.